Hello everyone, my name is Boulevard here for giantslayertv to bring you the top 3 decks, Fight Night Legends. In this series we'll follow along with Fight Night Legends every single week and take a look at top performing decks, popular decks, and decks to keep an eye on. Before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on all the latest content, and if you're interested in playing in a future Fight Night Legends, you can find an application to do so at giantslayertv/lor. There you'll fill out a form of some basic information like your name, country of residence, and some information about your previous accomplishments in Legends of Runeterra. While we're always looking to highlight new talent, this is still a competitive tournament. Now to break down exactly what Fight Night Legends is, it's an 8-person invitational tournament taking place on Thursday, Friday, and Monday for Brazil, Europe, and the Americas respectively. The event runs in a standard Riot Lock format, meaning each player brings 3 decks with no overlapping champions or region combinations, and bans one of the opponent's decks to play a best of 3, in which they must win with their 2 unbanned decks. The event is double elimination, with the top 2 players being invited back next week for a chance to prove themselves once again. As always, we kicked off our week in Fight Night Legends in Brazil, where another rivalry is brewing as Trevo takes the win over Sudrakhan as a reversal of the previous finals. Trevo managed to take home the W in his 3rd finals appearance in a row with Sivir Akshan, Pantheon Taric Yumi, and Yordles in Arms Demacia. As mentioned, last week's champion Sudrakhan took 2nd this time around with some very unique decks, fielding in Plunder and Narswain yet again, but this time rounding things out with Noxus Feel the Rush. With all the Fight Night rivalries that have spawned over the course of patch 3.2, it was nice to send this format off with some new faces in EU. Broken Ball came in with a dominating win, only losing 1 game the entire night with his lineup of Feel the Mina, Yordles in Arms Piltover and Zon, and Lux Aphelios Zoe. And in 2nd place, the only player to hand Broken Ball a game loss was Kazmin, bringing Bandletree, Scouts, and Sivir Akshan. And finally, on Monday, we had our last event of patch 3.2, and who better to win it than Floppy Mudkip securing his 6th Fight Night Legends victory, as well as his 6th consecutive invite back. He ran back a familiar lineup of Pantheon Yumi, Draven Scion Vi, and Nar Sejuani. It was also the end of the current What Am I vs Floppy rivalry, as Team OTK's Void was the runner-up this week with a very unique set of decks in Lee Sin, TLC, and Kindred Viego. Now that you know who won, let's talk about our top 3 decks. Our number 3 deck this week is Sivir Akshan. You know it, you may love it, you may hate it, but the staple mid-range Demacia deck of recent memory is still alive and kicking, and has been sitting at the top of the meta for weeks, picking up a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place medal this time around. With many players going off script and picking a variety of new decks this week, it's important to have something reliable with a proactive game plan that doesn't get caught up too much in what your opponent is doing, and Sivir Akshan fits the bill perfectly, while still doing very well against your more standard meta decks, giving it our final top 3 spot of patch 3.2. The number 2 deck surprised me, but it's Feel the Rush. Last week, when Yordles in Arms took the number 1 spot, I lumped in several different region combinations under the umbrella, and I'm doing it again here, as Ionia Feel the Rush picked up a win in Europe, Noxus claimed 2nd place in Brazil, and the more standard Shadow Isle version took a top 4 in America. Topping all 3 Fight Nights is part of the reason that this took a spot over Sivir Akshan, which was absent from the Americas, but also the diversity of this deck is something I wanted to celebrate and highlight. While each iteration would ultimately like to cast their 12-mana signature spell and summon Trundle plus Gnar or Tryndamere depending on the version, the roads they take to get there can vary a little bit. Shadow Isle takes the control route for the early and mid-game, loading up on Shadow Isle removal with a lot of backup finishers like Atrocity and Commander Ladros. Ionia seeks to stall the game out with recalls and stuns and hit a more consistent turn 9 Feel the Rush thanks to Scattered Pod's ability to tutor it, as it is the only slow speed spell in the deck. And finally, the Noxus variant plays a lot like the Shadow Isle version, but trades out the more expensive removal spells for execute abilities, letting you more efficiently answer a wide board that was saved by something like a Ranger's Resolve or a few different combat tricks to save a few key units on your opponent's field. Overall, I thought the diversity and success of Feel the Rush wasn't something a lot of players expected this week, given that only 1 entered each event but still managed to top 4 every single time. And for our final number 1 spot of patch 3.2 Fight Night Legends, we have Pantheon Yumi. I know many of you are surprised to see Yordles in Arms removed not only from the top spot but from the top 3 entirely, so let me quickly clarify. Demacia Yordles and Arms got 1st and 3rd in Brazil this week, while Piltover and Zon Yordles and Arms took 1st and 4th in Europe, but neither variant cracked into the top cut of the Americas. I thought maybe some sort of agreement between the players took place not to run it, but the opposite was true. It was hands down the most popular deck in each event, being played by all bottom 4 competitors in the Americas, sometimes twice. On top of that, it was played by over half the field in Europe and Brazil, which brings the deck to a sub 30% top rate with over half of the 24 competitors from this weekend running it. And that's just not number 1 material. Pantheon, on the other hand, had around a 50% top rate, as well as being the only deck to win 2 fight nights in the Americas and Brazil, but was actually completely absent from the EU event. Pantheon has really given Sivir Akshan a run for its money as the self-targeting Demacia mid-range GOAT of patch 3.2, and it was a tight race, but this week, I've got to give it to the 2-time. And that's how we're saying goodbye to patch 3.2. After weeks of swapping between Demacia metas and control metas, we get a nice, healthy mix at the end and a perfect send-off for this meta as we usher in all the balance changes from patch 3.4. Be sure to check back next week to see if the new patch is enough to knock Floppy Mudkip off his game and end his incredible streak. And if you want to know the moment that video goes live, then you should subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to get notifications whenever we post. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video. I mean, you watched it this far. My name is Boulevard for giantslayertv, and on behalf of all of us, thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments what decks you're looking forward to seeing rise to the top next week.